Okay. Can you hear me now? Good question. Hear me now. I've got this setting thing. Apologize. I signed in early. Thank you, Mark. Hot Dog Dandy, good to see you. Ken Amos, what is up, sir? We're not going to get this storm, I don't think. Hey, Dwight. Hey, Dwight, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, Derek. I don't know. I mean, this was all completely properly set the last time I streamed. Haven't changed a thing. And of course, boom, it's not working when I want it to work. Crazy. Well, hey, welcome to Sidetrack Sunday. I hope I've said hi to everybody so far in chat. JD, I didn't see you before. How are you doing, sir? I think I saw, based on data on the survey thing, that you might have taken our survey. So thank you. I saw Burleson, Texas come up. I think that might be you, but I don't know. Okay. All right. Everybody looks like everybody's coming in there. So if you haven't, so first, welcome to Sidetrack Sunday. We do this every Sunday night at 8 o'clock. I'm Bob Johnson, PK&W Model Works. If you don't know me, if you haven't been here before, and we have a bunch of other guys. We all share Sundays to do this live streaming show. So welcome aboard. If you're in the path of this storm that's hitting the Northeast tonight, good luck. Don't take any chances. Yeah, maybe I do need the duck, James. I know I'm just stubborn when it comes to that stuff. Joe Rader, good to see you earlier. Dave, DB Tech, hello, sir. Welcome aboard. Excuse me. So, the Sidetrack Sunday team, have conducted a brief survey about our 3D print content, trying to make sure that we're not overemphasizing stuff and giving you what you, Dwight, you're making me laugh. Stop it. Giving you the content that you'd like to see. And so we have a survey. You'll see up at the top of chat, I pinned the comment with the link. If you haven't taken the survey, feel free to go over there and take it now. It'll take you probably 2 minutes, probably less. So go ahead and take that survey if you haven't already. We had over 50 responses the last time I looked. What I'm going to do, oh, it's been snowing since 4. Wow. And I think it's been snowing pretty hard, right, Ray? So, man, all right, good luck, everybody. We had our big storm, several weeks ago where we got, 18 inches to 2 feet of snow ourselves here in Pittsburgh. So I feel for you. We got maybe an inch this morning. Nothing much. Hey, Carolina Foothills is here, I see. Someone's saying hello to, there he is. Hey, Dave, what's going on? I was at a live stream. I was at an operating session earlier today, Dave. That was the Tweetsy in North Carolina. So I'll be talking about that and sharing some pictures about that later in the broadcast. But I thought of you as I was doing it. It was a great layout. So again, feel free to jump over to the link in the pinned comment at the top to do our survey. And if you do it tomorrow or the next day, that's okay too. We're not going to shut the survey down for a while, but I am going to share with you the current results of that survey, and we'll discuss briefly. I don't think he's here. Hey, MTO, Anthony Dodge, how are you doing? Good to see you. JJ, Great Northern, good to see you here, sir. Boy, the gang is all here. I can see that. That's wonderful. So what I'm going to do is talk about one little project that I've been working on, to give anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to do the survey and who wants to do the survey before we go over the results, the time to do that. So with that, I'm going to change my view here. Hopefully I won't lose audio. Okay, looks like audio is still working. And I'm going to show you some shots of this project. So the project is I found in my stash, my apparently endless stash of kits, I found this Busch Ford E350 box fan. And yes, right. Yeah, the Tweezy is great. And this layout is great, Dave. I'll tell you. I'll show some pictures. Really, what's amazing. Hello, Deep Run. You were here really early, so I think you and I have already said hello. But at any rate, I'm going to build this little Busch uh, Econoline van here for E350 van for my layout. And I thought, okay, my layout is centered in the Gulf Coast. And so I need to have it decorated for the Gulf Coast. And one of the fish that I absolutely love, and I wanted to make sure that it inhabits the Gulf Coast where my layout is set, is this fish, which is the dolphin fish or the mahi mahi, or the dorado. It has got many names, and I love this, especially this. This is the male dorado, which has a big forehead. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Ray. I don't know who MIL is, but I see they were hospitalized. I hope everything's okay. That's obviously eclipses anything we talk about here, or the weather. So this is a male dorado, very colorful fish, and also a delicious fish. Not like a light meat like flounder. It's a darker meat like tuna, but it's really delicious. And these, mother-in-law. Okay, thank you. Too dense, Ken. Sorry, mother-in-law. Okay, Ray, good luck with that, brother. Um, this fish is ubiquitous. It's in every ocean of the world, and it's in the Gulf of Mexico. So I thought, perfect, I can do this fish that I find really attractive and interesting to decorate this truck. So I asked AI to do generate some images. And you can't see, unfortunately, my image is not the right size. You can't see my prompt, but my prompt basically was using the attached image, which was that first picture we just looked at. Create a more graphically simplified but still colorful picture of a dorado fish. The fish should be leaping with its body in an arc and fighting against a fishing line. There should be an artificial lure of a squid in the fish's mouth and a fishing line being pulled against the fish by a fisherman who is not in the picture and is not visible. There should be no background behind the fish or the fishing tackle. Background should be invisible. This is because I want to make a decal out of this, and I want the truck to show through in the background. I don't want to have any background in my image. And so, okay, good. Thanks, Ray. Glad to see that. No, I'm not related to the fish. There are days when I wish I wasn't human, but I'm not sure I'd want to be a fish in that case. So at any rate, these are the 4 images that that AI came up with. This one has got the one on the left has got some really strange coloration. Looks kind of weird. This second one isn't bad. I don't know why this second fishing line was inserted down below, crossing the fish's body. But this is not a male dorado. Notice how the forehead is sloped. I didn't specify in my instructions that it should have been a male dorado. This one here has got the prominent forehead of the male dorado. And so I really like this image. And this image, for some reason, both of these images have lines in them. Look, what is that line there? I don't know what that is. And this one has got the fishing line runs straight through the picture, and there's some other artifacts around the fish. Looks kind of terrible. Hey, Ray B, what is going on, man? Good to see you here. Oh, John Benicki, I see you're on there as well. Howdy. So I picked this third image as being the best image, but I wanted to eliminate this little swirl here. So, but it's close. So down below here is what I did was, in addition to my earlier prompt, I added Please modify the third example, which is attached below, and I attached that to when I queried. By removing the fishing line or swoosh crossing the fish's body at the left side of the image, the remainder of the image should remain unchanged. And boom, this is what I got. And I was pretty happy with this. Sorry, it's kind of off to the side. I'm not sure that I can move these. Maybe I can. I can. And so the next change I didn't want to change anything in that lower image, but AI has a mind of its own. Hey, Ed at Happy Valley, what is going on? Good to see you here, sir. So I said, I just said, please convert the image to a PNG with a transparent background. That's all I asked. I didn't want to make any other changes to the image. And this is what I got. A little more stylized. Actually, I like it fine. I like it better. And so, because I couldn't convert this bottom image into something that I could print. And so, this is what I got. And actually, it's pretty good. I like it. So, that is the image that I ended up using to make my decal sheet. Let me move this back over a little bit. Oh, why that happened. Oh, I do. Under that a little bit for you. So there we go. So that is the image that I got. And I like that, and I don't know that this hook looks absolutely right, but it was close enough for rock and roll. Hello, Rusty at Possum Bayou. Welcome aboard. Good to see you here, sir. We're going to be going over survey results. A reminder, want to take our survey? The link's in the pinned comment if you haven't already done so. Over 50 people have already done this survey. So it's awesome. We got that kind of response rate. So I like that image of the prehistoric looking Dorado fish. So, and here it is. Well, you can see what it looks like without, without that background in there. So nice looking image. And here is the decal sheet that I created for this project. I extended this line, the line that comes out of the lure, I extended that so that it would go off the edge of the truck, so that it would run right off the edge of the truck. And otherwise, you can see oops, not what I wanted to do. Sorry about that. I did some Texas license plates. I did some other markings for the side of the truck, which I have yet to apply, but I did apply the major decals to the truck. And so that's the decal sheet that I created. You can see down below, it's got an address in Karankawa, Texas, which is the fictitious town, which is one of the terminals for my railroad. Squid is tied on the correct end. Well, it is on the end of the line anyway. I'll agree there. And so here's a shot of my decaling progress. It hadn't dried, but at least you can see what I'm doing, where I'm putting these decals on this. Obviously, the truck body is backwards. It's not connected to itself. Hey, Chris, Motor Train Aficionado. How are you doing, sir? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. So that's kind of where I am with that project. I haven't assembled the, okay, that's some old survey results. I'm going to take you to the live survey results. So hopefully anybody who wanted to take the survey before we talk about the results has taken the survey now. Now, feel free to do it later if for some reason you can't do it right now. That's right, Derek. They love that calamari just like I do. So, So that's one project I've got going on. I had some difficulty setting up my camera. The last show I had my phone as a camera and I could take pictures of my desktop. Today, couldn't get it to work, and I got here kind of late, so I apologize for that. Thanks, JD, for monitoring the thumbs up there. Um, so we're now going to go and look at our survey results on Survey Planet, which is the software that I use to do this project. And we're going to go to results. And here we go. Here's the first result. Now, before we get into this, and we've got 56 people who have responded to our survey. Good evening, Floyd. Good to see you. And I was glad to see your latest video and how well you're doing and getting around. That really was great. Oh, okay, Ed. Yes, it's a 2D survey about 3D printing. You're absolutely right. And everybody is a comedian, but they're not all as funny as Ed. And so let me talk just for a few minutes for those of you who haven't seen maybe my video or Rick's Rick Bailey's video about the survey, the Genesis survey, and what it's about. After Brian's last stream, which was really great, and it was about fixing 3D printing problems, and it was really deep dive into 3D printing. And Brian has forgotten more than I'll probably ever know about 3D printing, so it's always great to get a live stream from Brian about 3D printing. But I was worried that you, our audience, might not be as interested in that content as I am. I'm very interested in 3D printing and 3D printing content. But I wanted to make sure that you, our audience, were happy with the amount of 3D content that we were giving to you. And so, therefore, this survey, to not only figure out the answer to that question, but also to get a little more guidance about if we're going to do more 3D printing content, when should we do it? What should we be covering? That sort of thing. And so I really thank you all who took this, everybody who took the survey. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it, the STS team. It'll really guide our future content. So without further ado, whoops, I'm going to move me so you can see the question a little bit there. Hopefully I'm still on your screen, although if I'm not, big deal. So here is the current state of the answers. 56 responses received. And the first question, I'm going to go over these questions one by one and take a quick look at the results. We won't spend more than 10 or 15 minutes on this. But I thought since most of you have participated in this process, you should see the results. We won't go over the individual answers. If you typed in an answer, it gave me some text. I realize in the future I should do the surveys with more opportunities for that. Because there's a lot of gold in those answers. When there's other specify and people specify, that's really gold. We're going to go over this. The STS team, we will look at. Okay, thanks, Derek. Appreciate that. Glad to know that I'm still visible. So we'll go over all of the individual answers. If you typed in an answer about something that you wanted to see or had a comment, and I should have given you more space to comment because those are very valuable. But at any rate, we'll go over this. And by the way, speaking of the Sidetrack Sunday team's reaction to this information, we have not really gotten together and discussed this. So nothing I say here reflects the views of management. Ray and the rest of the team we haven't really gotten together and analyzed this and looked at it. So nothing I say on here will, is binding on the STS team, and I'll try not to make anything that even smacks of commitment by us with respect to this. But I think some conclusions are obvious from this data. So the first question was, how do you feel about the amount of 3D printing related content on Sidetrack Sunday live stream in our series of live streams? And 7 people said it was too much. 34 people said it was about right, and 15 people said not enough. So that means that there was like 87% of the roughly of the audience who responded here were satisfied, or they wanted even more 3D printing content. So in a way, I was wrong. Hard for me to admit that. um, and so I thought, I want to make sure that those of you who are in the 7 who said there was too much, I understand your position. And I don't think, as we'll discuss later, that there's really going to be a massive sea change in what we talk about presently on these Sunday shows. That content is going to pretty much stay the same. I don't think it's necessarily going to shift more towards 3D printing, but yes, well, Rick, you need to rectify that problem of not having a printer, my friend. But it is interesting. So I really I was frankly surprised by this, and that's interesting. At least it's enough. The vast majority of you believe that it's enough, and so that's good. Good data to know. Good data to know. Absolutely positive. Now going down to question number 2. Do you own a 3D printer? And interesting, and I guess Rick Bailey will take some heart in this. The largest group of you do not have a 3D printer. And Rick, the answer to your question is, can you 3D print in wood? You can print in filament that has some wood in it. I've never used it. Right, and that, as Ray is saying, we'll get to that. Brian has suggested that we have a Saturday show that's kind of dedicated to 3D printing. Not every Saturday, but that way we can do a deep dive into printing. And yeah, well, Stephen, I know laser cutter is a good investment as well. That's tough. Hello, Debbie Does N Scale. I do not remember you being here. Welcome. Welcome. We're going over a survey that we recently put out. It's still available. So if you would like to do the survey, feel free to use the link in the pinned comment to do the survey. This is about our 3D printing content. So the second question, do you own a 3D printer? No, and no plans to get one. 21. No, but I'm thinking about getting one. 13. So that's 34 of our 56 respondents don't presently have a printer. So you're in good company, Rick Bailey. Good company. 14 have one printer, and 8 have more than one printer. So again, interesting. The support for 3D printing content is well beyond those who have printers. That's only 22 of the 56 respondents. And yet the overwhelming support for, hello, John Benicki. If I didn't say hi to you, I see someone saying hi. Okay, I see. Yeah, there was a response just scrolled up past my one of the 7. There we go. VHS Railroad. Sorry, I should know your name, but I don't. More around the lack of interest, troubles, and troubleshooting to do 3D printing. Well, the only thing I can tell you is I have an Elegoo Century carbon printer. I got it March, April of last year. I finally got it set up in August. I've been printing on it just 5 or 6 days a week, and I haven't had to adjust it, troubleshoot it, nothing. I mean, once I walked away and a print failed and there was filament all over and I thought I had damaged the printer, I hadn't. It's been working. I've gone through 5 or 6 spools of filament, no adjustments, no trouble. It's been completely worry-free. That helps you think about it. Um, it is, it's not a problem. Not, it hasn't been a maintenance problem. Um, so I thought this too was interesting data. Interesting data to have, surprising data, and I was glad to see the support for 3D printing, um, even among those who don't own their own printer. Good. Okay, now question number 3. How do you feel about a special monthly live stream, maybe bi-weekly, but definitely not every week, by the STS team dedicated to 3D printing, tentatively planned for Saturday after the Back on Track show? Now, this Saturday scheduling is because our real 3D print guru, Brian, at the Iron Horse, it's hard for him to be available for this show at this time. Not here today, I don't think. And so having Brian available is important, and we don't want to slant the content of our weekly show too strongly to 3D printing. So we can really do a deep dive on this Saturday show. So here's the results here. 34 of the 56 folks who responded. And again, I think this is updated live. I think somebody's filled in the survey while we've been on the air here. Said they would watch that Saturday show. And 16 said they might watch it. And so there you go. That is 50 of the 56 respondents said they support this separate show about 3D printing. So again, we haven't made a formal decision, but there's a lot of support in our audience to do this show, and so don't be shocked if we roll this out in the near future. It's because honestly, some of the most exciting content we ever had was when Brian and Dwight Curley were going back and forth solving a problem for Dwight. I hope his problem got solved by Brian, but it was fascinating. And really exciting to see that going on live. So that was really cool. All right. And now we will go to our last question. And I'm going to reorganize the answers. There we go. And so if you want to see more 3D content, the last question was, if you want to see more 3D content, what do you want to see? Select as many as you wish. And so here are the winners. And frankly, I was surprised that this was all right. The Gutenberg press and 3D printing. I like that combination. So the most popular topic, and I just listed what I thought were some topics that might be of interest. The list was tweaked a little bit by my compadres in the team at STS. But the first one was 3D design and 3D modeling. And that is a all right, Dwight. That's a very exciting, to me, that's a very exciting topic. Actually designing the models, having a thought. I want to have a model of X, going out and making it, I mean, like this thing, little tugboat model here that I designed myself. There's nothing cooler than that, in my view. Actually having ideas and executing them in 3D with the printer is intoxicating. So I guess I can understand why, but I'm surprised that others, especially people who don't even have a printer are interested in that. So that's cool. But it does, that is a way that we replace, right, Rusty. Brian's got family duty on the weekend. And so, got to respect that. That's great. And so it's good that, so therefore, a Saturday morning, he's more likely to be free to do this. Um, so I was surprised pleasantly to see that that was the top um, subject of interest. Yeah, I understand VHS. I get it. it is it is a lot, especially the 3D design aspect that people wanted to see the most about. That's the hardest part, in my view. It's not hard to get a printer, find free files to print, or to use AI to create models to print. Okay, those are relatively easy to do. So the AI option really does open up a lot of things for you. Not perfect, not as good as modeling, my view, in a 3D modeling software package, but it is pretty good. Pretty good. I have dozens of things that I printed out of AI. So, so yeah. So yeah, there you go, Rusty. Yeah, this is my second model for my New Year's resolution. Actually, got a third one under the way. So let's get back to our survey results here. Sorry, I get distracted easily. Um, Let me have a drink of my fortifying wingding here. All those of you who don't know what a wingding is, it is chocolate milk mixed with man. That's some good stuff. Probably not too good for me. Yeah, Derek, I agree with you. I think it is going to open up the hobby. There's a lot of things that you're going to be able to get. You're really going to be able to populate your layout at a minimum with a lot of scenery, structures, detail items that previously they were crazy expensive. You'll be able to make them yourself, and it's really cool. So the second topic of interest was seeing other people's prints for inspiration. Very cool. Right. Let's see models. Let's see their 3D model. Let's see the parts that have been printed, and let's see what it looks like assembled, fully painted. Chocolate milk and root beer. Chocolate milk and root beer. Sorry if I was too eager to get a sip of my wingding in order to pronounce that correctly. Chocolate milk and root beer. That's a wingding. I don't know. Maybe that's a Jersey thing. Where I grew up, we always had wingdings. Kind of like an egg cream, if you're familiar with egg creams. But honestly, I think it's better. So that was the third thing. Now the second topic. Now the third most interested topic, and this is something that I do think the STS team needs to take to heart, is getting started in 3D printing. There's 26 people voted for that. They want more information on how to get started. And so honestly, I think that is something we need to cover in the first specialized program that we do on a Saturday. We need to talk about that. Where and how to use the prints. PHS, if you give me a little more detail, where and how to use the. You mean where to find models that have already been created and how to use them? Absolutely, yeah. And I think we need to cover the basics. We need to, cover how to find those STL files, as they're called, how to get them prepared to print on your printer, get them into the printer so that they'll be printed out. So the process of getting that model, slicing it as it's called, getting it to print out of the printer. Trust me, It's not hard if I can do it, but it is, if you've never done it, then it might seem like a hurdle. So that is the third. And honestly, I'm not going to go any deeper into these results, but I think that's very illuminating. You all can see the other, printer troubleshooting and problem solving. I mean, everything was fairly of interest to people. All of the topics that I put up there, and so it shows me the level of interest overall that there is in 3D printing. It's pretty strong, and it's pretty uniform across the board. All aspects of it are important. Hey, Kyle, what's going on? Glad to see you here. I don't know if I missed you earlier. Oh, no, I guess I didn't. Good to see you here, Kyle. Enjoying your videos on your structure builds, Kyle. Very inspirational. Thank you. So that's the fourth question. That is the entire survey. And I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but thank you to everyone who participated in this survey. The turnout was extraordinary. I hope you enjoyed the process. It didn't take too long. If you have any feedback about the survey process and how that went, James, I know, James. I've got to build the layout in order to run trains, James. So I'm working on that too, and I am going to cover that as well. But remember, I have two resolutions this year. One is 3D printing related, and the other is to get trains running. So I can put some effort towards 3D printing, but I am making steady progress towards my second resolution, which is getting trains running. So let's see what we've got here. All right, so we have been through this. All right, so before I do that, let me just exit the view for a minute. Given that James was interested in my progress on the layout, let me talk a little bit about that. So I've obtained two 55-gallon drums to use as kind of a demonstration project for elevating my layout by using drums. So I've got those two drums. I don't know, James. My resolution was by the end of the year, so I can't make that promise, but I'm hopeful. So I've got the two drums, and what I've done, I couldn't bring them in here into the shop. I'm doing other things in the shop right now, constructing some shelving. I'm going to move printers out. I've got some things that are going on. So I couldn't bring the drums in here to show you, but I do have two drums. I drove out to a guy's place out, 25 miles away, still technically Pittsburgh, I guess. Waded through the snow, got two of these drums for $5 each, put them on the back of my pickup truck. They were very light, easy to move around. They weigh 20 pounds or something, 25 pounds. Threw them on the back of my truck, got them, brought them back here to the shop, cleaned the snow off them, and got them inside. Okay, James. Yes, I know you'll give me the business until I've got trains running. So I got the drums in here. I got them cleaned out, and they have a plug on the top of the drum, and these drums previously held liquid that comes foam and is foam insulation for buildings. So they have a thin layer of foam inside them. It's a good thing. That should deaden sound. But the bunghole at the top is pretty much cemented in with this dried foam insulation. So I got this tool, and this part of it here fits down into the top of the drum, and you can crank those things, the tops off. So actually, it worked great. The guy I bought the drums from said I needed to get a Burns-O-Matic torch and heat the thing before I could get the. That would have been a pain in the neck. I know a lot of you have probably got torches and use them all the time, but I've never had one. My old man had one who did plumbing work in the house all the time, but I haven't used a torch like that myself. I think probably because I was emotionally scarred working with my father, because he would always have me, the oldest son, helping him with these projects, handing him tools, and he is soldering over his head with a torch, and molten solder is dripping down onto him, and he's groaning and screaming in pain while he's doing this plumbing work. And that was pretty scarring. I don't think I'd do anything like that. But yeah, Dave, this is kind of a standard drum tool. It was like $10 on Amazon. And boom, it worked like a charm. Worked like a charm. So I'm able to get the tops off. Now, and I need to get that top off because, as you know, I plan on putting something in there to weight it down. And I've got to give credit here. I tried channel locks and I couldn't get them around the. Maybe I didn't have a big enough set of channel locks. I just couldn't get them around there to get it done. I tried. Maybe I could have used like a pipe wrench or something like that, but those are all at the house. I don't have pipe wrenches here at the shop. So I just figured I'll get this and see if it works, and it did. So that was great. And getting those lids off, as you know, my plan is to put some extra weight, 50 pounds of extra weight. Thank you, Kyle, for that report on the thumbs up. I appreciate your support there. I'm going to get some weight into these barrels. So, sorry I'm looking to the side like this. I know it's not good programming. I need to change my screen. I've got my live view over here to the left, and so I'm looking in this direction. But I know the camera is over here. Sorry about that. And I can't seem to get the camera cord isn't long enough for me to get the camera up here. I've tried. I guess I need to get an extension at some point. I want to look professional like Rick Bailey doing this. So I got the bunghole caps off with this, which is important because I need to weight them. Chuck Schreiber in the audience today had a great idea, which was to use sand. Neat, it's clean, easy to pour through a small opening, and it's cheap. I think it's actually cheaper than using concrete. Yes, Tom, that's my plan now, is I'm going to put the drums in place where the layout is going to be roughly, and then, I don't know, BHS. I would argue I don't have any good sides, but now I can just take sand. I can get a half a ton of sand, which is all I need, for less than $100. Have it dumped onto some tarps in front of my shop. Then I can just bring it in by the bucket full and put 50 pounds worth in each barrel in location. And so, great idea, Chuck. Thank you for that. I'm pretty sure it was Chuck who had that recommendation. So that's how I plan to proceed. But I'm not going to go get more of these drums. And the guy had plenty more. Well, and there you go. That's the question. What am I going to do to put on top of the... And you're right, VHS. I think I'm not worried about the layout shifting as much as I am worried about sound and vibration in those drums. So I want to deaden that. So one of the things I'm doing to deaden that is, and I will be posting a video about this, is I did a test to put some rubber feet underneath the drums. And I did a sound test. So I had one drum. I've got two drums for my trial run here. So one drum, I didn't put any rubber feet on. But the other drum, I have this cheap sheet of rubber sheeting. Boy, it smells like auto tires. Maybe that's what it's made from. But I got this cheap 1/8 of an inch thick rubber sheeting. And yeah, thank you, Chuck. Great idea. And so I cut little strips. You know, the bottom rim on one of these drums is like 1/4 of an inch wide, very narrow. So I just cut this into a strip. I cut off little 1 inch by 1/4 inch pieces. And then I went to a big box hardware store and I got a product that said it would work on rubber and metal. And so I put those little feet on that drum and I did my sound test, and boy, it made a big difference. Now, the drums are different. Each one has more or less of this insulation coating, I guess. And so that may have, but boy, I'm telling you, the one that I put the rubber feet on, sound was just much reduced. It was really, really much improved. Then I moved that drum, and all the feet fell off. And so I had to go back, and the STS guys had to put up with me moaning and groaning about how the feet had fallen off. But I finally figured out that if I just I have a coarse sanding block here, and I just took this and I scuffed up the rubber, I reapplied that to the drum, and boom, it stayed attached, no problem. So I've kind of got my sound deadening figured out for the drums, and the next step is going to be, and that will occur later this week, is I am going to take apart the more conventional bench work that I already built and figure out how I'm going to mount the bench work to the top of the drum. And I've gotten some great suggestions, and in fact, Deep Run Mike suggested using a kind of a riveting type of fastener. I'm going to look into that. And I'm also going to see if instead of just mounting the entire bench work to the drum, which is what my 3D printed model looked like, right? I just had 6x6 framework attached to the top of the drum. I think save money, and also to get the layout to be a little bit higher, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 1x6 boxes to go on top of the drum, and then I'll put 1x4 framework on top of that. So that'll get me an extra, 5.5 inches of height on the layout, and be cheaper because I'll be getting 1x4 instead of 1x6 to make my my framework. And interestingly enough, speaking of the framework, I think my framework is probably overkill in terms of strength, because the layout I was at earlier today on the live stream, and I'm going to switch over to that because on my operating session, was built entirely of 2-inch foam. There were a few used some aluminum extrusions to hold it, to give it some strength in certain directions. That was it. He was not dropping foam on top of a lot of expensive lumber. So that was really illuminating, and a lot of the things that he did on his layout are what I want to do on my layout. Minimal electronics. So it was that was illuminating. So, James, that's the progress I'm making on the layout. So now I was going to talk about my tugboat model, because one of my resolutions is to get a second 3D printed model on for sale. And here are the parts for the tugboat model. So they're pretty much done. There you go, VHS. That's right. And so here are the parts. True enough, JJ, but you know what? This room that I'm in was completely lined, walls and ceiling, with a double layer of 2-inch thick pink foam. And so I saved a ton of that. So I can probably do 3/4 of my layout with free foam. Hard to beat. So here are the parts. Just, this is an earlier iteration of the tugboat model, the truckable tugboat model, as it's called. But you can see here are all the parts that I've designed and printed in 3D. So, yeah, Derek, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm just, using some L brackets. I'm just, I don't want to transmit too much vibration down, so I may want to try and find some way to use some rubber washers, something like that. JJ, if I have extra, you're welcome to come pick it up. Well, Rick, I'm not too worried about the drums affecting wiring because I'm not going to have any switches below the only wiring that might be running below the layout is wiring for interior lighting and structures. So I'm not really going to be running a lot of power under there because, the drums, while it won't make it impossible to operate under the layout, it is going to restrict movement. So, yeah, there you go, Mike. I mean, yeah, this foam is not cheap anymore. It's not cheap anymore. So I'm going to quickly go through this here because I want to talk about this operating session. So here is a shot. This is pretty much the current state of the tugboat model. I still need to, and there are a few things I've done since then to improve this. I've got some of the bollards for tie down points created, but I still need to do the railings. There's railings around that deck there, and I need to cut the acetate for windows. So this is kind of a prototype, but this is where that is. And honestly, I like it. It's looking pretty good. And here it is, live view as well. It's cute. It's really come together pretty nicely. Looks a lot like the prototype as you. So it looks a lot like the prototype. So I think it's good. It'll need a few little details, things like that, but this is it. So now I've gotten distracted. Sorry, James. I know. That's correct, Ray. Thank you. I am doing a cold rail layout. There'll be minimal switching in it, but that's true, James. Ken, rather. I don't really have the capability of ripping plywood very easily right now. I got rid of my cheap table saw. I thought I was going to get a good one, and I didn't. But I've gotten a little bit distracted with this, which is the first all-electric pusher tugboat. It's in the Netherlands. I don't know if I have any other. Obviously, it's colored orange. The House of Orange is in the Netherlands. That's the name for their royal family, the House of Orange. And so I've gotten, this truly is a distraction. I don't know if I have any more. But you can see here that I have gotten into the process of constructing the deck elements and the hull for that particular model. And these are the bumpers here for the front. So, I've made some progress on this as well, which I think would be a much more interesting and larger model for people in terms of selling it. I still have to design this, this conning tower that raises and lowers. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And this stairwell in the back, doing stairs with an FBM printer FDM printer, filament printer. I may or may not be able to pull that off. I'll have to see. But at any rate, this is coming along really nicely, frankly. Let me change my view here just so I can show you a little more live. So one of the deck elements is a 20-foot container, and this actually holds all the batteries. So what I did was modify the print so that there was a hole in it, and I'll be able to put the air conditioners in that corner. That's how they are in the prototype. So I found a 20-foot container on Thingiverse, printed that out, but I made some changes to it before I printed. And then there are a series of other containers that go on the deck. There's this smaller one here, and two that are basically on this plan here. They have solar panels on the top of these, so I'll be able to model all that. So those were kind of the easy things to do. This bumper, I was really pleased with how these steps turned out. Kind of see that. These steps turned out on the inside, on the non-bumper side of that. That's the deck side. So that came out really well. I was happy with that. And the only other print, and honestly, I think it's one of the biggest things I've printed in my time with the printer, is this hull casting. You can see I've got scuppers in there, and also the bollards are integral with the hull. So I think this casting is going to need a little work. I think I'm going to shorten it. Kind of misread some of the photos. Right? Yes, Thingiverse was sold. I don't know what's going to happen there. Okay, Mark, I see your suggestion about the stairs. I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. A stubborn SOB. I want to try and print them first. It's amazing how small my printer can print. It can print really small stuff, less than a millimeter in diameter. So I'm really pleased with that. And that's with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So it does a pretty good job. So at any rate, this is great. This is an easy thing to 3D model because it doesn't have any complex curves. Straight lines. So it's really kind of an easy thing to 3D. So that's kind of the status of that much bigger tugboat project. And I will say, James Galton, that is a distraction. I have gotten distracted by it, but I get a lot of joy out of the 3D design process. A lot of joy. Well, we're right on an hour here, and I'm not going to stop. But I understand if anybody has to jump. But I'm going to skip through in my presentation here. I'm stopping to. I'm not going to talk about 3D printing any longer. I'm going to skip through this project, and I'm going to start talking about the operating session that I went to today. And this was at the home of Tom Grabenstein, Dr. Thomas Grabenstein, excuse me, medical doctor. And Tom moved to Pittsburgh from North Carolina. And he's now retired, and his entire career was spent in the hills of North Carolina running a medical clinic. But he did some mission work in the islands. I can't remember which island this was exactly. And so one of the first things he built, thank you, Dave, about my design work. One of the first things he built was this little layout of sugar cane. You can see down here in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a load of sugar cane, a little narrow gauge layout. I believe it's O scale. He had a large HO scale layout in his house in North Carolina at one time. But this just gives you an idea of the quality of this guy's modeling. He is good, is really good. And so this was a cool little, and you can't really see it down at the bottom, but he actually won first place in some category at a good night, Andy. Good night, Andy. Um, so spectacular, right? These palm trees. I mean, just outstanding. Just outstanding. There's another layout over here, another little module kind of diorama, two-sided diorama. I didn't get a picture set in the winter. Now, here are shots of his overall layout. Now, this is narrow gauge, O gauge railroading set in North Carolina. He's modeling the Tweetsy, as it's called. If I don't know, I think so, Dave. I think so. You can see the comparison here in this photo, Dave, between this is standard gauge here, right in front of this depot flat, and then the narrow gauge. So it's quite narrow. I don't know exactly how narrow it is, but I'm sure you can look up and see what the tweets he ran on. I'm sure he's following that. So this yard was an interchange between standard gauge and narrow gauge. He doesn't have any operating standard gauge track. There's power to this track. He can move the locomotive back and forth, but everything else is narrow gauge. So this is as you're entering the layout. This is what you see to your right. There's an engine house in the back that he scratch built. Great scenery. You know, he's got a backdrop. It's finished off. It's really nice. Now this layout, he actually built it in North Carolina. His wife was born and raised in Pittsburgh. So when he brought him up here to go to a narrow gauge convention, and he and his wife and his daughter started looking for a house, and he ended up moving out here. So he had his layout disassembled and trucked up here, and he's been putting it back together. And it's amazing. I mean, this guy is within walking distance of my house. So really fantastic. His basement is clean, super habitable, neat, not full of junk like my basements usually get. He is not running dual gauge, Ray. He's just got all narrow gauge. He just has this one standard gauge section because there was an interchange with a mainline railroad by the Tweetsy. And Dave can tell us what the Tweetsy was. Eastern Carolina or something. I can't remember. There might be a sign here later on. I've got a few other pictures of the layout. So here we're turning to the left. This is one of his negative space areas. He just added these cornfields here, and he actually used AI to create. He took pictures of his existing cornfield and used AI to make images of the cornfield in the back that he could paste to the backing there to make it look like the cornfield extended. Then the trains go behind this hill, creating kind of a vision block and moving you around the layout. And then as you come around the layout, you come to this Cranberry Station. This is the train that I was operating, stopped here. Water tower to stop at, sound effects for that. There you go. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad. That is it. I believe it was named the Tweetsy because of the way the horn sounded or something silly like that. And it's a line that went out of existence some time ago. During the transition era, I think it went out of existence. And so this is kind of a little peninsula that sticks out into the main room. Now this is on the far side of the layout. This is the very end of the layout. This is in Boone, North Carolina. This is one of the turntables he has on the layout. They are not motorized, but they are powered and operating. So you can turn and you need to turn the engines at the end of the run in order to return to the other end of the layout, continue your route. Basically, an operating session, at least for me, consisted of leaving Boone with a passenger train, stopping at various stations along the way, and then oh, is that what we're doing? We're distracting you. Scott Rails, you seem like you're making good progress, sir. I'm not going to accept responsibility for delaying you at all. um, so again, really nicely done scenery. I think I've got some other shots. So this is Boone to our left. We're coming around, heading west to Linvale. Again, another passenger station, another water tower. Every one of those. Good evening, Scott Rails. Another place that requires a stop, triggering the sound effects for the watering of the engine. You know, the rules of the layout require that you stop at every water tower to get a drink for your thirsty locomotive. Excuse me. And so this is you've left the last town and you're coming around to the mill here, the iron ore mine. There was lumber, iron ore, and one other product on this little line. And this was the main industry, which was this iron ore mine. Since I was running a passenger as a newbie, I appreciated that. I didn't stop here, but I did have to wait for somebody to get out of the way. But and most people had left the layout by the time I got these pictures. I was able to run around to get pictures because I had 3 rules for me, a newbie, at this operating set. The first was learn as much as you can, and I did learn a lot. Second rule was have fun, and the third rule was not break anything. And I achieved all those objectives. One of my objectives was not to come and get footage. But I'm pretty confident that I can get Dr. Tom to entertain a live stream where I can be at his layout, maybe even have a couple of other operators, and we can actually really dive into this layout and you can really see what it's all about. And so this is, this is Boone, back in Boone. Sorry, this is a little out of order, but he's done a good job of using building flats to create some depth. These are 18-inch deep shells, similar to what I'm planning on doing in HO scale. He's doing it in O, of course. But clever use of building flats, really good modeling, flawless operations. Trains worked great. And because of the narrow gauge and what it is, he didn't want you going over 15 miles per hour, scale miles per hour. You're really moving very slowly. It made it very, yeah, I'd heard that, Dave, that the Tweetsie was a theme park. Yeah, and Tom did say they have some limited running of the train. But finger flick switches, nothing underneath the railroad to go wrong. And so everything worked reliably. The turntables were a little finicky, but I managed to get those working too. So it really, because I had to turn around twice. So it was a lot of fun. My first operating session, and it was very low key. The railroad was not crowded, and yeah, there you go, BHS. You're right. And so I really had a good time, and I know that Tom. I mean, he has a full operating scheme. He has JMRI generated switch lists and movements, and we were requesting clearance from the dispatcher like we were on the radio in the 40s on the Tweetsie, and so, or the 30s. And so it had a lot of the elements of what I believe a classic operating session has. You can see those 2 clocks up there in the left-hand corner. Actually, one is a thermometer to the right, and the other is a regular clock. There was no fast clock running, so there was not a lot of stress in this operation. So if you are in the Pittsburgh area, or you know someone in the Pittsburgh area who might be interested in participating in an operating session with Dr. Tom, here is his email address, and he invites you. He knew I was going to make this presentation, and he invites you to send him an email and come to an operating session. Correct, Kyle. You're just flipping the switch. There was a little stud. You're not actually flipping the rail, but there's a little. There was a little. I can't remember what they call that. A throw rod. I'm not sure, but there was a longer tie, an extra longer tie, where the switch would operate. There's a little stud on that. You can flip the switch. So this was very relaxed, no pressure. You know, one train on the main at a time. Sound equipped locomotives, all steam. Just totally charming. Dr. Tom is a laid back, wonderful guy. If he can help me go through the process of my first operating session, he can help you if you're new as well. And so I really highly recommend it. If we're going to have every 6 to 8 weeks, he wants to have an operating session. He was hoping to have 6 operators today, and only 3 showed up. He had a little bit of weather. There was some snow earlier today. Maybe that was part of the problem. I don't know. But at any rate, that gave me, I could run my own train, entire session, and I really didn't get a lot of help from Dr. Tom because I didn't need it. Everything was working very well. I just needed him to help me with the turntable, the first turntable. But we learned a few things. This was kind of the shakedown cruise for his. So again, here's Dr. Tom's email. If you're in Pittsburgh, or you have a friend in Pittsburgh who might be interested, I recommend that reach out and talk to Dr. Tom. As you can see from these pictures, great layout, super clean basement. Definitely something that I recommend doing. And I learned a ton. I learned a ton doing this. It'll be a long time before I have a railroad that's anywhere near this quality. This is basically done, right? Skirting, fully scenic, got some water features around, I mean, it's really bridges. It's really, really nice. It's a very well lit space, fully air conditioned, heated, super comfortable. And Tom really rolled out the red carpet. He had, bluegrass music playing, which was typical of the area. He was serving Cheerwine soda, another product of the area. He had moon pies and Goo Goo clusters, which are also products of that area. And so it was excellent. He had literature beforehand available for participants, which he sent out. I read all that, and it really emphasized kind of the low-key nature, going slow, taking your time, because that's how they operated this race. And so, JD, if by the end of this year, my goal is, JD, as you know, I know you're pulling my leg, but my goal is this year just to have running trains. Okay, so I just want to have the track done, and I can run continuously. From there, I'll start adding scenicking individual industries. I really want to start with the intermodal yard. I have an intermodal yard planned out already, and so I want to start with that. And then that's right. Yeah, I see how he did this VHS, so I can I can follow in Dr. Tom's footsteps. I mean, this guy, this is the real deal. Okay, this is the real deal. I've got to say, there are more layouts around than you realize. And I may have mentioned this on a live stream before, but one of the guys, I live in a cluster of like 10 or fewer homes. And one of the guys in that 10, living much closer to me than Dr. Tom, had an operating Märklin layout with catenary. It wasn't live catenary. It was that third rail Märklin that Model Train Outsider, Anthony Dodge used. But he had a completely scenic, done layout on top of custom cabinetry. And he was like, 35 yards away from my house. And he's had to tear his layout down, unfortunately. But it shows you because he moved, and I got a lot of the building materials and cabinetry and things like that I can reuse here. And he's still in the Pittsburgh area. But it's amazing. Well, that's true, BHS. If they invite me, they're taking it. But so it's just amazing how many model railroads are really out there when you get down to it. So at any rate, let me go back just briefly. I'm going to go back to Dr. Tom's email address. So Tom G, MD. He's no longer a practicing physician, but he is doing charity work at a health clinic and like vice chairman of the board at the health clinic or something like that. So he's still active in medicine. But great guy. Obviously, you can see from the pictures, great layout. So if you're interested in operation, you want to even just try it for the first time, this is a great way to do it. All right, JJ, I'm glad you enjoyed the show. It's good to see you. I need to check out your channel, JJ. Do you have updates on your layout? I want to see that. When you say radio control, JD, on a dead rail, absolutely, yes. And that's my intent. I'm going to use tsunami sound decoders and cold rail. Yeah, absolutely. It's Bluetooth, I think, Bluetooth technology, not radio control. It's Bluetooth, but same thing, wireless. No signal going through the rails. All the signal is going through the air to a receiver inside the locomotive. All right, Mark, good to see you. Good luck with the upcoming planning season. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. I'm gonna go ahead and end this now. I think I'm running out of steam. My voice is starting to fail. So thank you for being here with me, sharing all these ideas. I hope you all stay safe. If you're on the East Coast and you're in the path of this current storm, be safe. I hope everything works out okay for you. Remember to prioritize your world's slowest model railroader. I love that. That's trademarked. I love that. There's a lot of people in that competition, JJ. Thanks, JD. Thank you, David, Carolina Foothills. All right, Count, take care. Yeah, I'm going to hang it up. All right, Scott Rails, go back to it. But I'm glad you came along a little bit for the ride. Your work is fantastic, and I enjoy your channel. Me and thousands of others. Good night, Derek. Take care, Ed, at Happy Valley. I will see you all later and online. Good night, Ken. I hope everything is okay with you. All right, James. Good night, buddy. Take care. John Benicki, take care. Chuck Schreiber. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate your ideas and your friendship. You've been really helpful to me. I appreciate it. All right. Take care, everybody. Good night.